Hello friends, welcome to TechnoGeek SFDC. So in today's video, we are going to talk about one of the very recent feature which has came into GA under the part of Winter 24, that is HTTP callouts in Flow. So why this feature is going to be a game changer? First, we need to understand that. So whenever earlier there was a scenarios for doing the integrations or something like that, we used to look for the developers and other people who can write the code for HTTP and all, and then which can be taken forward to other orgs. Again, you have to write the test classes and all other stuffs which you need to do to connect with an external system. But with this feature going forward, you will get a feasibility to connect with external system without writing a single line of code. Directly from the flows, you can connect to an external system. Okay, and that's where everyone is telling that this is going to be a very big game changer in terms of your feature release timelines as well as your productivity. Okay, so that's where your HTTP callouts are going to help you. Now, let's deep dive into the process of setting up HTTP callout with an example. So in this, I'm going to take an example of an email validation. It's a very simple example where I have a third party where I will be sending my emails to check whether those emails are valid emails or not. Okay, so with this context, let's get started on our today's video. So for our today's video, we are going to use a website name or an API provider named as Abstract API, which are having an external API to validate your email addresses, and they have certain way of doing the connection. So basically, they need a key, basically a primary key, which they take as an authentication. So it's a very basic authentication. Okay, now let's see in our flows how we are going to write a flow to do a call out to this particular website or this particular API to authenticate our email addresses, whatever we are sending. Okay, so first thing first, what we need to do is for doing any type of callouts, as we know that authorization is something which is the basic part. Okay, where we need to do the authorization, and same concept goes in this particular feature as well. So here we need to first create a named credential. Okay, so for the sake of time, I've already created a named credential with this particular website so that I can just explain you. So I have an email validator named credential, okay, where I have just given the endpoint URL, and then I just created an abstract API external, you can say auth provider, which is having a very basic informations into it, okay, and then I just created a name credential using this particular auth provider. Okay, it is the same steps what we usually do in any other type of callouts as well, where we use the name credentials. In this feature, name credentials is a must. Okay, and we will see how we will be using this name credential. Okay, now let's say I'll go to a flow and I'll click on new flow. Now I'm going to use a screen flow because I need a user input. I will need a text box where user will be entering the email address which we are going to authenticate. Okay, so we have created a screen flow, and then first screen, what we are going to use is to get the input, to get the email address. Okay, so I'm going to use a text box here. Okay, whose label will be email. API name as well, we'll keep an email. I'll give the name as email input. Okay, so it is going to be very simple. It's just an email. Okay, and I'm just going to mark it as done. Okay, now next step is going to be our action where we are going to set up the HTTP callout. Okay, you can just ignore these error messages what I'm getting. So here first thing what you will see a button named as create HTTP callouts. Okay, so I'll just click on create HTTP callout and it will ask me for a name. So I'll just give like email validation. Now, as you can see, we need to use a named credential for the authorization here. So you remember I was telling earlier that I've created a named credential for this API layer which I'm going to use, right? So I'll be selecting that name credential. You'll get list of all. You can select anyone. So I'll be selecting the email validator. Okay. So as you can see, the URL will start getting populated, which we have given in the named credential. Now is we'll click on next. Again, we'll just give a label here. So you can say email success. I'll just give a name here. Okay. Now, next thing is what type of method it is going to be, what type of callout it is, whether it's a get, post, put, patch, delete, what type. So in our case, if we go to the documentation, it is telling that it is a get. Okay. So I'll select here as a get. Now, next thing is we know the base URL, but we know that we should also enter the exact path of the API where this request is going to hit. So this is our base, followed by, if you see, we have something called v1. Okay, so I'll give slash v1. Okay, next part is, since it is a get method, so what all parameters we need to send in the URL. So we will define those parameters first here. Okay, so in our case, if you can see, our parameters are API key and email. Okay, so same name we will keep, API underscore key. What data type it is, so we will select that data type as string. It is a string for us and it is a required. Okay, similarly, we need one more parameter, that is email. Again, data type, I will select it as string and I'll make it as required. Okay, till here, I think it is clear. Now comes the main part here. So when we defined everything, we gave the parameters and everything what needs to be provided to do the callout. But we also need to give, or it is a mandatory step, we have to provide what is the sample response we are going to get. Accordingly, Flow will create the objects in backend for this. Okay, so if I go to my website or my APIs, you can see I have request parameter, email, everything, and then I have a sample body here. So I'll just copy this body. I'll come here. Now in the provide sample response, I'll just click on new and I'll just copy paste the JSON. Okay. As soon as I copy paste the JSON and click on review, you can see that it has created all the required parameters, required objects in the backend. And this object will get created on the fly as soon as you launch this flow based on whatever the sample response you have provided. Okay. And going forward, I'll show you how we are going to utilize this as well. Okay. So I can just click on done. Okay. Now my all the steps are done here. I can just click on save. Now it is asking add a unique service name, or I'll just keep it as demo here, demo email. Okay, it is asking for a unique. I got this demo email. Okay, I'll just external service name. I need to provide something else. So email validation one, I'll keep. Rest here, everything will remain same, and I'll just click on save. Okay, now my action got created here. What I'll give label as email checker. Okay. Now, as you can see, next what it is asking is whatever the parameters we defined, it is asking the value for those parameters. Okay. So in our case, API, I mean, this I'll keep it same. I'll just hard code it. Okay. Another one, email is something which we wanted to get from the user input, right? So for that, I'm going to use the screen component email text. Okay. So this will automatically capture whatever I am entering on the UI. Okay. Now with this, I'll just click on done. My email checker has created, my action got set up now. I just need to call and I need to utilize the response. So my HTTP callout is set. You can see it is so simple. It's just a drag and drop and giving the configurations. Okay. Now, next thing is I'll just put a screen again to give the output. Email output I'll put here, and then I'll use display text email email success. I'll just give a random name. Now, how we are going to utilize the output from our HTTP callout. So as you can see, if I'll just click on hover on or click on this text box, I'll see actions and output from email checker. So the HTTP callout action what we have created. So whatever is the output from that callout, I can use that. Under this, you'll get three options. That is your response code, default execution. There's something called 2XX. So under 2XX, you will get all your informations required. Okay, or basically whatever the JSON structure you have given, based on that, whatever the parameters got created, you can see all the parameters under 2XX. Okay, and you can use them. So in our case, I'll just use deliverability. I'll just check for the deliverability. Okay, and then next again I'll just let's say select for any other let's say I'll just select for a quality score. It's just two things I'm just selecting here. Okay, you can give any size, strength, whatever you want to give. You can just basically you can configure, you can basically uh, modify it or beautify it as per your requirement. Okay, and I'll just click on done. Okay, now let's save this and we'll see how this is going to get executed. Okay, so email checker flow. So this got saved. Now we will click on debug and we'll see how this is going to behave. So as you can see, I got an email box here. I'll just give as test@test.com. Some random email I'm just giving. Let's see what the outcome we are going to get. Okay. So I need to see, you might not. Yeah, friends, I think I was able to rectify the issue. So it was a wrong name credential I was selecting. So after selecting the right name credential and doing the same setup, I have not done anything different than what I was showing earlier. So it is the same setup, and then I'll just test it now how it's going to behave. Okay, so I'll put test@test.com. As you can see, it is showing me that this email is undeliverable with the number value as 0. Okay, now let's try to put a valid email and see how it's going to work. So you can see that this is showing that it is deliverable and the scoring it has given me a 0.95. Okay, so this is one of the example where we have set up a email validation API. I mean call out to email validation API without even writing a single line of code. So this was one example. Similarly, you can write you can try with other examples, you can try with other different APIs, and you can find out the results as per what is your requirement. Okay, so with this I hope it is clear how you can use the HTTP callout from flow. You have other options as well, you have post, delete and all other stuff, so you can go ahead and you can definitely try all those different options as well. So let's see some of the advantages of using the HTTP callouts in Flow. So one of the advantages, you don't need to write any code. You can directly connect with your external system. You can send notifications to external system. You can, automate your business processes. And there are many more benefits as well. These are some of the benefits which I was able to come up with. But yeah, based on your usage, definitely you can see more and more benefit by using this particular feature of Salesforce. So with this, we will wrap up today's video. I hope you like this video. Please do like, share, and subscribe. This motivates me to come up with more and more videos like this. So with this, thanks for your time. Bye bye.